come join me, and then we can hit it off straight away. Let's see, we're going to be talking about this, and we're going to be also talking about this one. So if you don't know what I'm typing, or if you really want to know what I'm going to be typing here, when I'm sending off in just a second, follow me on Twitter at ILoveCinema vlog, all one word. And you can find out every time that I'm going live, I'm tweeting. You can find out about the films that I'm going to be talking about. So just follow me on ILoveCinema vlog on Twitter. And if you're watching this, obviously you're already on Twitch. Hopefully you're following me on Twitch as well. And what's the other one? This one. Boom. Let's see whether that is going out. So, welcome back to ILoveCinema. I hope you guys had a great week. Let's just see whether we're live and everything is all right here after commercial and everything. All right, there seems to be sound. And I thought I turned it off again. Awesome. Wicked. So, one of the things that is going to be a bit different today, which is something that I've wanted to change for quite a while and I've just not really gotten around to it, was I've been usually talking about just one film a week or sometimes two. And if you've ever seen any of my shows, then it does... Yes, that's water. Never mind. I kind of ramble on about the same film for like half an hour. I usually do the news and trailer section, which takes about like 20-25 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, and then I have like half an hour left to talk about a film. And I was like, I'm just talking about... like I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. So I was like, it's going to be, to make it more interesting for you as well, for you the viewer, and just to keep myself on my toes, you know. And I was like, I'm going to be putting more films into this. Like, I used to do this when I started the show. I was talking about usually about 3 films per week. But even just 2 films makes it a lot more interesting. And that means I have to keep going, right? And hopefully that's going to make it a bit more interesting for you. So today I am going into the news section, which is a lot shorter. Last week that was crazy. It took me half an hour just to get through the news section, which is obviously ridiculous. But today, just so you know what you can expect from this show, I'm going to be talking about not 1, not 2, not 3, which is usually my lucky number, 4 movies. And the first one is going to be Uncle Drew. Then I'm going to be talking about Adrift. Yes, I finally got around to watching this. Then Skyscraper, which came out today, the new the new Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson film. And last but not least, Incredibles 2, which I think is coming out tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. I watched it a few weeks ago. Cineworld was showing it in an unlimited screening, so it's a bit hazy there because it's been a few weeks. But these are the 4 films that I'm going to be talking about today. But first, let's quickly dive into the news section. There's not that much going on. I'm trying not to really talk about everything that's in the news, but just like things that I think might be of interest to probably a lot of people. This time everything seems to have something to do with like superhero stuff. So first off, just a little tidbit really. Brie Larson, who famously is now playing Captain Marvel, which is slated to come out I think March next year. She posted on Twitter that they have just wrapped the film. So she posted a photo of like the clapperboard. So the slate, whatever you call it, depending whether you're a UK or US person. They've slated it, they wrapped on July the 6th and it's slated for release March 6th, 2019. Now that is the US release. Whether that will be the same date for the UK or the rest of the world, no one knows. Ever since this Ant-Man debacle, which we're currently all living through, and I've just been spoiled for Ant-Man earlier today, and I'm not happy because this would have not happened if Kevin Feige and Marvel hadn't decided to postpone the release of Ant-Man here in the UK. And yeah, I'm really not impressed and I'm really not happy. It's not that big of a spoiler that I've been spoiled with, but it's pissing me off because this was really not necessary. I would have already watched this. So anyway, Captain Marvel is done, is in the can. We don't really know anything about the film other than it's going to be an origin story and that it is set in the, was it 80s or 90s? In the 90s. So the sequel to Wonder Woman is going to be set in the 80s. Captain Marvel is set in the 90s, which is also one of the reasons why apparently Samuel L. Jackson, who will be reprising his role as Nick Fury, will be digitally de-aged by about 25 years. So, woohoo. Yay for CGI, right? Speaking more about like Marvel and superhero stuff, I've been banging on about Deadpool 2, right? If you've ever seen my show, if you've ever caught me talking about Deadpool, you know that I'm not that much of a Deadpool fan. I didn't like the first film. And then the second one came out and I was like, might as well. So I rewatched the first one on Netflix and I'm like, yeah, I still don't like it. It's a bit better than I remember it, but I really still don't like it. And then I went to see the second one and it just blew me away. It was so much better than the first. And if you want to hear my thoughts on Deadpool 2, there is you can find it either on the Twitch channel or go to YouTube and search for hashtag ILoveCinema vlog. Sorry, just hashtag ILoveCinema. And you will find the channel I put on there as well. I've re-uploaded all my videos to YouTube, so if you're looking for that, just have a look at that. Unfortunately, the Deadpool show was marred by a lot of technical issues, so please bear with that. I've been thinking about potentially recutting it and cutting some crap out, but I thought that my show about Deadpool 2 was quite good, made some good points, and it was quite entertaining and funny. So yeah, check that one out. I can't remember which episode it was, but it is in the episode title that I'm talking about Deadpool 2. And obviously one of the things that I'm trying to talk about is the upcoming Blu-ray and digital release, like the home video release, so to speak. And there was this big rumor that the director is going to put 15 minutes of the film back into it. We're going to get a proper director's cut. And now that's just been confirmed. And it's called the Deadpool 2 Super Duper, expletive deleted, cut. So I'm already on board with this. It's going to feature 15 minutes of brand new action and jokes. So previously they talked about like 10 to 12 minutes. Now it is apparently confirmed 15 minutes. The Blu-ray will also feature a gag reel, a feature on Easter eggs in the film, a commentary from star Ryan Reynolds, who obviously plays Deadpool, director David Leitch, who I'm now a huge ass fan of, and writers Ray Reese and Paul Wernick. So that should be really interesting and insightful, and I think I'm definitely going to buy that, because I've seen this film 3 times at the cinema already. Considering I really did not like the first one, I am so surprised by how much fun I've had with the second one. I just love it. There's just so much stuff about it that I love. It's crazy. So I'm gonna get the Deadpool 2 Super Duper Motherfucker cut, or whatever it's gonna be called, expletive deleted. It comes out August 21st in the US on Blu-ray. The digital release I think is a week or 2 earlier. And in the UK the Blu-ray is released. We're also getting the Super Duper Motherfucking Awesome cut, whatever it's called, on September 17th here in the UK. We get the same thing as the US, guys. So go out there and grab it, guys. It's gonna be awesome. And more superhero news. We all heard of the Joker, right? We all like the Joker. Ever since Jack Nicholson played the Joker, I was fascinated by the Joker. And then Mark Hamill did this whole animated thing and he was just like amazing. And then Heath Ledger obviously did this legendary portrayal of the Joker that I didn't see coming, and I was just so floored by it, and I'm just still like, wow, awesome. And then obviously we had Suicide Squad. Was it last year? It feels like 2 or 3 years ago now. And we had Jared Leto doing it, and as excited as I got for that one, and with everything... Ice Cream Man? No. And sorry, ADD. Ice cream music. But with everything that we've seen in Suicide Squad, you know, the lead up to that, the whole marketing campaign was obviously super duper exciting. And then the movie fell kind of flat. And Jared Leto, being a bit of a method actor, he just went, like, what I think is a bit too far. But it got me excited to see his idea and his interpretation of the Joker. And then I was like, it's a bit flat. Like, it's interesting enough, like, I was engaged with it, but I preferred what Ledger did, and I preferred what Nicholson did. Anyway, the big ass Joker news, and it's a weird one, is that Joaquin Phoenix is gonna play the Joker in a Warner Brothers film. Alright? So there was this whole rumor about, are we gonna get Jared Leto, the Joker movie? then all of a sudden it was rumored that Joaquin Phoenix is going to play the Joker. And I have no idea where that came from. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix, no matter what you think of him, he is a really good actor. He's a bit mental, but he's really good. I believe all the shit that he does. You know, I really buy his performances in pretty much everything that he does. And I remember the first time that I really remembered his performance, that I was like, he caught my eye and I wanted to remember this person's name, was when he was in Ridley Scott's Gladiator and he played the Emperor, who was a bit like Caligula. I think he was playing Caligula, who's like a crazy ass person anyway. So the news is Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie is officially confirmed. It's officially happening. Joaquin Phoenix has officially signed on, and now Warner Brothers will make the movie, and Todd Phillips is directing. Todd Phillips did The Hangover, so that doesn't really make me hold up much hope for this film because I'm not a fan of The Hangover. But the film will apparently be an origin story, which seems to be really fucking famous, really popular at the moment. So for obviously Batman's most infamous villain, and I have to admit, seriously, I even have a Joker mug. I love the Joker, right? One of my ex-girlfriends bought me this, and I just love the Joker. He's because he's maniacal. He's amazing. I really, really like him. So I'm gonna go watch this anyway. But then I kept digging through the article, and while this movie has now officially been confirmed as happening, they will start shooting soon. Warner Brothers, same production company, is also gonna develop another standalone Joker movie. And I was like, that can't be right. Why is the same production company producing two separate Joker movies? That makes no sense. Like, what's up with that? Because sometimes you get, when Armageddon came out, and then we had the same year we had Deep Impact, and then you get a film about Churchill here, and then a film about Churchill there, and then you get something else and something else. It's like everyone's like, we're gonna ride the wave, that kind of a thing. And but it's usually two separate production houses, whereas now with Warner Brothers, it's the same production company who will be making two separate Joker movies. And I'm like, is it a joke? I just don't get it. So the first one, Joaquin Phoenix, and the second one is supposed to star Jared Leto, which is what a lot of people thought is going to happen because he already famously played him in Suicide Squad, right? And this will be reprising his Joker role that he played in Suicide Squad. So Warner Brothers is making two films about the same character. Now, obviously, Joaquin Phoenix is going to do the origin story, whereas Jared Leto is reprising the role that he played in Suicide Squad. So that is after we've had the creation of Harley Quinn and all of that stuff. So it's clearly not an origin story. But I found out that apparently Warner Brothers and DC are developing something called New Origins. Like a lot of films under a New Origins banner, so to speak, which is totally separate from everything that we've seen the DC Expanded Universe doing, the DCEU doing, right? And apparently this allows, or is supposed to allow, multiple interpretations of the same source material by different directors, by different actors. Basically, like with directors, you probably wouldn't even care as much, but I find it really confusing if it's like, oh yeah, this is the DCEU, and then I'm watching a Joker movie and the Joker is played by Jared Leto, because I've seen that in Suicide Squad. And then I watch another Joker movie who is officially, yeah, it's the DCEU, it's by Warner Brothers, and then all of a sudden he's played by Joaquin Phoenix, and I'm like, why? And then I watch another Joker movie and he's played by Jared Leto again. I was like, that's like, my brain can't handle that. That's just going to be really confusing to me. It's like, why are we doing this? Like, I would kind of understand if one of them was, let's say, 20 and the other guy was 50 or 60, and you're showing them at different points. You're showing the same character at different points in their lives, and they're just being played by two different actors. That would kind of make sense to me. But those guys are not that far away from each other when it comes to age, as far as I know. So I'm just like, I don't think that audiences are going to respond to that. I think they're going to be fucking confused. Like, maybe if you're a comic book fan and you pay attention to those kinds of things. But as a mainstream audience, people just go like, wait a minute. There's another Joker movie. I did not just see a Joker movie last year, and why is it another? Why is some other dude the Joker? I'm so confused because mainstream audiences usually do not pay attention to these things. I think it's not a good idea. So they're doing it. It doesn't matter what I think, right? Hi, Warner Brothers. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think people are going to respond to that. They're going to be fucking confused by this. Because I pay a lot of attention to movies and movie releases and movie production. But even I'm like, what the heck is up with that? Remains to be seen. According to the Hollywood Reporter, I think the Joaquin Phoenix version, they start shooting in September. We might potentially see a release of the film end of 2019 if we're lucky, or unlucky, just depends. I mean, it can't be that bad, right? I mean, if you have Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker, it's going to be interesting. He's a really good actor. It doesn't even matter how good the script is, but he's just a solid dude, right? I mean, Jared Leto did a good job in Suicide Squad, even though I thought it was the flattest performance I've seen when it comes for the Joker. But I mean, you had Jack Nicholson portraying him in the 90s. You had Heath Ledger just knocking it out of the ballpark. And I was like, wow. So, big shoes to fill. And not really superhero movie, but it was just a little something that I found on the internet today. We all know actor Nathan Fillion, right? He was in Serenity. He played Castle. Like, he's a well-known dude, right? He posted on Instagram something that was, at first I was like, what the fuck's he posting? And then I was paying closer attention and I saw other news outlets taking it up as well. He posted a really, really mysteriously cryptic post on Instagram. He put a photo up of Drake, you know, the musician, the rapper, right? But he captioned it with, and this is what got my attention, with a Latin phrase, sic parvis magna. Now, it's been a while since I've had Latin in high school, but it means greatness from small beginnings. And I only know that because sic parvis magna is a direct quote from one of my most favorite video games of all time, the Uncharted series. Now, if you've ever heard of Uncharted or Nathan Drake, it's kind of like Indiana Jones as a video game. It's absolutely fantastic. They are PlayStation exclusive games by a company called Naughty Dog. They're very, very famous when it comes to video game circles. They are the ones behind The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2, which is going to come out soon, which has made quite a hoopla at E3. They're very story driven, they're very character driven, they're really, really great games. They are basically the reason why I have a PlayStation and not an Xbox, because I want to play these games. So this Sic Parvis Magna thing, and also he posted a date, July 16th, which is just around the corner. So Nathan Drake is the lead of the Uncharted game series. He is basically Indiana Jones, but he's not an archaeology professor. He's kind of like a scrounger and a scavenger. And the Latin phrase is something that's inscribed on Francis Drake's ring in the game. Like Francis Drake, you know, the pirate, the privateer, who was working for Queen Elizabeth. The first time I've ever heard that name was when I've seen Errol Flynn playing a pirate, and his name was like Francis Drake, and I was like, what's up with him? And he was like swashbuckling and sword fighting and just like awesomeness, right? And so that's kind of like he finds that ring, and that's become like his little thing. He wears it around his neck, and it's got this inscription in there, and it's this whole thing is like, I am a descendant of Francis Drake and all of that stuff. I'm not gonna give too much away. I think you guys should, like, either you go to YouTube and you're just gonna watch someone play Uncharted, because the cutscenes, it's like watching a movie. It's fantastic. You watch it. It's absolutely awesome. The characters are great. The voice acting is great. I absolutely love it. I'm a huge fan of this. And so since Nathan Fillion has just posted that, the image of a guy called Drake, and then posted the saying Sic Parvis Magna and the date, there's been this rumor going on for I don't know how many years that they're gonna make an Uncharted movie. And several directors have been attached to it, and several actors have been attached. Mark Wahlberg's been attached to this as Nathan Drake, and I was like, please do not make this movie happen, because that's outrageous. Because he's just not a Nathan Drake. Nathan Fillion, on the other hand, not just because they kind of have the same name, but he would be perfect, even though he's a tiny bit too old. But I don't care. You know, CGI, you can do everything, and plus, it doesn't matter if he's a bit older. But it sounds like they are potentially... There's some kind of tease going on in regards to an Uncharted project. Now, maybe it's not a movie. Maybe they're going to make a TV series. I mean, holy flippin' heck. I would watch that. I absolutely love the Uncharted series because it is based on the narrative, on the characters. It's awesome. So I can't wait to see what happens on the 16th, which is Monday, by the way. And last but not least, Neil Blomkamp. If you don't know who that is, he made District 9 and Elysium. Forget about Elysium. He made District 9. He's great. And he also made Chappie, but forget about that. He made District 9. He's a New Zealand guy. He will direct a RoboCop sequel, a proper fucking sequel to the very first RoboCop. So not 2 or 3 or the rehash they did a few years ago. It's called RoboCop Returns and is officially happening at MGM. Now, according to Deadline, Neil Blomkamp is going to direct an official sequel. Got nothing to do with the remake from 2014. It will be a direct sequel to the absolute original, to the very, very, very first RoboCop. So forget RoboCop 2, forget RoboCop 3, just it didn't happen. It's kind of like the Terminator series. There was like 1 and 2 was great, and then like some really weird and crappy installments happened, and then James Cameron was like, fuck this shit, erase it all, I'm gonna make a new one, I'm gonna bring back Sarah Connor, and you know, I've reported about this a few weeks ago. Apparently there was an unused RoboCop 2 screenplay back in the day that wasn't used for RoboCop 2 by the original writers of the original RoboCop, and this new sequel that Blomkamp is interested in, that he's going to direct, will be utilizing that screenplay by the original writers. So I'm really excited for that, because RoboCop, the original RoboCop, is a classic, and is a classic for a reason. It's a fantastic film, and I can't wait to see that re-envisioned for today, you know, in modern times. So very excited for that. And that's pretty much the news. I didn't have time to watch any trailers because I'm just too bloody busy. So let's dive into the movies. Number 1 is Uncle Drew. Now, if you don't know what Uncle Drew is, I didn't even really know what it is. I didn't know this was coming out, and I was in the cinema watching something else, I can't remember, and then this trailer comes up, and I was like, what is this? This looks horrendously stupid. And then I was like, wait a minute, but it's kind of also funny, and wait a minute, it's actually not half bad. This could potentially be really good. So it's one of those things that's either going to be horrendously shit or potentially really good. And at the end of the trailer, they show you that it's basically, these are like all professional, well, not all of them, but the main dudes are professional NBA basketball players, whose name, other than Shaquille O'Neal, means nothing to me. I'm sorry. But the trailer goes blah, 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 and NBA so-and-so name. NBA so-and-so name. NBA Shaquille O'Neal. And I was like, I know this guy. This is a big deal. And one of the things that really got me interested in potentially watching this film was the trailer, because after I realized that these guys are not actors, these guys are actually NBA All-Stars or something, I was like, wow, they are actually half decent. I thought they did a really good job just in a few little bits that I saw in the trailer, and I was like, that's not bad. You know, this whole like aging makeup and stuff, it's kind of like one of those Eddie Murphy films, you know? And I was like, could potentially be really good. Didn't really have a lot of plans to watch that. And I was supposed to watch Hotel Artemis on Tuesday. There was the unlimited screening. I have to admit, you've seen it in the lineup. That is not there. Hotel Artemis is missing. I did say I was going to talk about it. The stupid idiot that I am, I got the dates mixed up. I thought it was on Wednesday and not on Tuesday. And I had this whole... I went to bed on Tuesday night, And at 1 a.m. I had this whole fucking shit, it was today. I fucking missed it. I can't believe I fucking missed Hotel Artemis. I'm such a doofus. I literally had this whole sit up in bed. Yeah, I missed it. Sorry. Why I'm mentioning that is because perfect lineup, screen time is wise, with Uncle Drew, which I also then didn't watch. But as you know, as things happen, you meet with people and then you're in front of the cinema and it's like, dude, you know what happened? What started like 5 minutes ago? Uncle Drew. Do you want to go watch it? And my mate was like, what the heck is that? So I told him and he was like, I don't know if I want to see that. I was like, let's just go. So we went and saw it and he really enjoyed it. I thought it was all right. It's not the type of film that you need to watch in the cinema, but it's decent entertainment. Now, if you don't know what it's about, the synopsis for Uncle Drew is, after draining his life savings to enter a team in the Rocker Classic streetball tournament in Harlem, Dax, which is that dude, played by Lil Rel Howery, is dealt a series of unfortunate setbacks, including losing his team to his longtime rival, played by Nick Kroll over here, playing a real proper douchebag. Desperate to win the tournament and the cash prize, which is $100K. Desperate to win the cash prize, Dax stumbles upon the man, the myth, the legend that is Uncle Drew, which is that guy. Played by NBA All-Star Kyrie Irving. I have no idea, sorry. I really do not know. And convinces him to return to the court one more time. Together, the two men embark on a road trip, which is kind of hilarious, to round up Drew's old basketball squad, made up of Shaquille O'Neal, which is the only one I knew, Chris Webber, Reggie Miller, Nate Robinson, and Liza Leslie. And prove that a group of septuagenarians can still win the big one. And that is the synopsis. That is literally like, oh, I've got my team. Then Nick Kroll comes in going like, I'm gonna fuck you up. And then he also takes the girlfriend, which was like, who's played by Tiffany Haddish, which is like, Tiffany Haddish. And everything just basically goes down the drain. And someone in the barber shop, because like black guy's barber shop, right, goes like, oh, you need to talk to Uncle Drew, eh? You need to talk to Uncle Drew. And then he meets up with Uncle Drew, and Uncle Drew goes like, yeah, sure, why not? And they get into this van, which is like mega pimped out, like in the 70s version. And they do this whole road trip and get the gang back together, which is unfortunately not as interesting as it sounds and not as hilarious as it sounds. There are some really good bits, but the film really gets going once the team is together and they then decide to actually go and, you know, play in that tournament. I mean, there's a dude who's blind, there's a dude who's in a wheelchair, and together they're supposed to be playing this tournament, right? It's absolutely ridiculous and bonkers. But once the team is together and they all have like the little problems and stuff, especially between Shaquille O'Neal and Irving, they're like Drew, they really have problems with each other. But of course, everything's going to sort itself out and everything's going to happen. Like, it's very predictable and stuff. But I was so surprised by these NBA stars giving decent performances. They're really fucking funny. They're like properly working the whole thing. Like, oh man, I can't stand up straight and I can't walk properly and I'm like really old and stuff. And I really believed it. I thought they did a really good job. And that alone was really funny. And afterwards I was like, I half turned to my mate and I was like, I'm sorry, it's not as good as I thought it was going to be. All the best bits, as per usual, are in the trailer. And he was like, are you kidding? I had a good time. And I was like, all right, you enjoyed this a lot more than I did. So overall, it's a decent film. It's entertaining. The first half takes a bit getting used to and is a bit slow paced. But then, like, it really gets going. It's quite fun and interest. There's even a dance-off. Those guys get into a dance-off with some young people in a nightclub. I mean, that is just like, seriously, shit you didn't think you needed to see, but it's in there. There was even a quote in there that I really liked. So one of the old guys tells the young one, is like, you miss 100% of the shots you didn't take. And that really resonated with me. And I was like, that's true. All the shit you don't try, you will never succeed at because you're not fucking trying it at all. You can't succeed at something, you can't win at something if you never give it a go. You miss 100% of the shots you didn't take. Bam. So I was watching this and I even got this like little tidbit quote and I was like, This is a lot more than I thought I was going to get out of this film. So overall, I really enjoyed it. The music's great as well. It's like proper old school stuff. And I just, yeah, I just love it. It was good. It's not the kind of film you need to see in the cinema. It's more like, oh, it's on Netflix, guys. Shall we get together and, you know, get a couple of beers and a pizza and just watch that and laugh our asses off? That kind of a film. You don't necessarily need to go to the cinema for that, I think. And with that, I think let's go and talk about Adrift. Now, for Adrift, first off, I love catastrophe films. I do. Like Titanic, like The Shallows with Blake Lively. That was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had in a cinema, because I was literally going, oh my God, I can't believe that. Oh, fuck. I was so invested that my friend who was watching it with me afterwards, she was like, yeah, the movie was alright. But watching that film was absolutely hilarious. I just get worked up about things. And I'm like, really, I don't have a problem imagining myself in these circumstances. I really feel for people in the most crazy and most lunatic and outlandish circumstances. I don't know, maybe I just have a great imagination. I mean, I'm trying to be an actor anyway, so it's like, you kind of have to have these things. So I usually get quite worked up about stuff. This is a catastrophe film as well. Poster, I don't no, I'm not gonna give that away. That might potentially be spoilerish. There is something that happens at the end that kind of turns everything on its head, which you kind of see coming because it's been set up really nicely. But it's still, by that point, I'd totally forgotten about that. And I was like, oh yeah, they did that. All right. So what this film is about, the synopsis for Adrift. We have Tammy Oldham, who's played by Shailene Woodley, and Richard Sharp, who is played by Sam Claflin. Two really young, gorgeous, cute little people. They couldn't anticipate that they would be sailing directly into one of the most catastrophic hurricanes in recorded history. In the aftermath of the storm, Tammy awakens to find Richard badly injured and their boat in ruins. With no hope of rescue, Tammy must now find the strength and determination to save herself and the only man she has ever loved. Sounds a bit cliche, but the way the film works is absolutely marvelous. This is basically a vehicle, for Shailene Woodley to show off her acting chops. And it works. I mean, I love Shailene Woodley anyway. I think she's a really great actress. I love seeing her. I find her quite captivating and interesting. And, oh, bear with me. So, there we go. Sorry, someone messaged me. And she does a really, really good job with this film. A few years ago, there was a film with Robert Redford where he was like somehow stranded on the sea somewhere, adrift on the sea. Can't remember what it was called. It was quite interesting, and it was quite captivating as well. But maybe because he's an old man or something, it was not as action. Even though this film is also not really actiony, but I was just not as engaged with that film as I was here. Also, the editing, the way the narrative is structured, has something to do with that. Because what the film does is, the film opens with her waking up in the boat after the disaster. When she comes to and goes like, shit, if you've seen the trailer, it's like, where's Richard? Richard's not on board. The boat is fucked. It's full of water. What's going on? That's how the film starts. They literally just go, bang! You're smack in the middle of shit. And then what they do, which is something I really appreciated, is that they intercut with before they go on the journey or while they are on the journey. And they intercut like all the happy bits with all the tragic bits that she has to deal with the aftermath. So it's basically before and after this horrendous storm that forever changed their lives. And they intercut it beautifully. So you're never too, what's the word I'm looking for? You're never too exposed to just the aftermath for too long. Like you have 10 minutes here and then we cut back to what was before. And those before segments are, I think they're shorter. They felt shorter. because obviously the happy-go-lucky stuff is just not as interesting as seeing her going through all the shit that she is trying to sort out. And one of the things, if you've seen the trailer, you know that he is the sailor, she isn't. So she has to come to grasp with, I have to sort the shit out, because he ends up, his leg is fucked, his ribs are like, they're bruised, so it looks like he might, he doesn't have a pierced lung, but his rib cage is bruised. It's not even blue, it's black. That's how badly bruised it is. His leg's totally fucked, so he's basically just dead weight. He's just lying there. She has to take care of him. He can't help her at all, other than with his expertise and being there, because it's always harder to go through stuff when you're alone than when you have someone there with you to at least mentally help you. It does something for your mental state. And so I thought that this film was absolutely fascinating, just to see Shailene Woodley play someone who has to go through all that shit, who has to rise to the occasion, because if she doesn't, not only will she die, but the man that she loves will die. They will just not get anywhere. And then as you progress through the film and through the narrative, and you find out what happened before and what led to them being in the situation that, you know, made them end up in the middle of the bloody hurricane. It's just really interesting to see. It's like, you know, hindsight's 2020. It's like, if only we hadn't done this, or if we hadn't said yes to this, or if we hadn't done this or that, or if we had made a different decision here, our lives would be so different. And I really like seeing these kind of consequences to the smallest, not even necessarily an action, literally just a decision. You saying no to something or saying yes to something. And the way that she portrays it really well, the panic, the resolution, the determination, the hopelessness and helplessness, and the overcoming of things, and how you almost become an entirely different and new human being, because you literally have to reinvent yourself just to survive. And I think the film captures this really, really well. I really loved it. I loved her performance. I also loved Sam Claflin, but this is clearly Shailene Woodley's film, and it works. If you like catastrophe films or survival films, or films where people have to rise above them and find strengths and powers that they never thought they had, this is definitely the kind of film that you want to see. It's not like a romantic thing, even though that the movie goes like, just look at them, it's like, oh, we're so in love and we're lovey-dovey, and obviously the stuff that happens before, they are like a new couple, they are quite lovey-dovey, but then you know what's gonna happen, and that you as the audience knowing that obviously gives you an additional layer of, I don't want to say enjoyment or entertainment, because that just sounds so fucking wrong, but it gives you another level of understanding than what the characters are going through, and it really adds to what you take away from the film. I was really, really enamored with it. I think it's only like 96 minutes. It's not a really long film, and I think it also couldn't be much longer, because it is quite emotionally exhausting. Also just seeing her doing the things that she does, because obviously she can be very resolute and very determined, but like I said, she also has the hopelessness and the helplessness. It's like, I think we're fucking gonna die here, you know, we're gonna die here, and no one's ever gonna know what happened to us, and stuff like that. And she has like proper breakdown moments, and I think it's a tour de force for Shailene Woodley. And for that alone, I really enjoyed it. And I just applaud her for all the stuff that she's done and that she went through. And it looks phenomenal. All the nice parts before the hurricane hits, you're like, oh yeah, I want that life too. I want to go on a vacation. This looks so awesome. Those guys have the best life ever. And then the hurricane hits and you're like, I wouldn't want to be in that situation. They've got the worst life ever. You know, that kind of thing. And that's just what it is. Life can change like that. And just seeing people literally growing in front of your eyes because of the shit they have to deal with. And then I'm not going to spoil it for you. There is something at the end of the film. Obviously, there's always something that happens in the third act, usually that like turns stuff on its head or adds something to it. Is she gonna make it? Are they not gonna make it? I mean, obviously, if they didn't make it, how would we fucking know about this, right? So clearly one of them must make it, at least. So there's stuff happening at the end, and I thought that was fantastic. The film then goes into kind of like a lengthy bit of explaining this is what happened and blah 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 blah. This is how it all comes together. That I thought was unnecessary, but that doesn't even take 5 minutes. I think there's not a lot of fat on the film, and that's no joke. Just because, like, seriously, near the end of the film, it looks like she was hungering herself down as well, because she looked like a skull with skin on it. It looked really realistic. I really bought it that they were out in the sea for like 41 days or something. It's just crazy. And one of the things I really loved about the film was, like I said, the narrative structure, the editing. As you see, you start with the immediate aftermath and then we intercut. And what they did that way is it all comes together near the end where you actually see the hurricane hit them. And what, like that pivotal moment in their lives that changed their lives forever, you see it happening at the end of the film, shortly before the overall resolution. And it is an eye-opener, and it's gut-wrenching, and it's like, wait a minute, it's like, what? And you will know exactly what I'm talking about when you've seen it. It's really well done, and it is something that by that point, once we reached that point, I was like, I totally forgot about this entire setup that I picked up on earlier. I was like, oh, now this is happening, and now that's happening. That is clearly leading to this, and clearly leading to that. But then there's like so much stuff happening in between that you totally forget about this. And then at the end, stuff happens, and you're like, you got me, I forgot about it. Overall, I thought this was a really, really good film. I really enjoyed it. I was really mesmerized by it. I was captivated by it. I thought she did a really fantastic job. This is clearly her starring vehicle. Sam Claflin is a good supporting actor. I don't think he's the lead in it. That is clearly her. It's clearly her film. One of the things I also want to congratulate the film on was the tiniest little bit of a tidbit that she is not straight, but she's a bisexual. And I know that it's like, oh, stop banging on about this shit. It's not important. Representation is important. And I love the way the film did it, because it's literally basically what Marvel has cut out, like a line here and a line there. This film did exactly that properly. There's just one line where she has dinner with Sam Claflin, where she's like, well, after high school, me and my girlfriend, we road tripped down to wherever and we started a business, but then we had a falling out and whatever it was. That's all she says, me and my girlfriend. And you can't tell me, it's like, straight girls always go, oh, it's just me and my girlfriends. First of all, she didn't say girlfriends. She said girlfriend. And you never go, oh, it's me and my girlfriend, which is... No, girlfriend means girlfriend. At least it did for me. And she just mentions this. No big deal. She doesn't make a big deal out of it. He doesn't make a big deal out of it. He doesn't go like, girlfriend? Nothing. It's just mentioned, just like you mention anything. Just like she's like, oh, me and one of my ex-boyfriends, or whatever. And I thought that was beautiful, because that is exactly how you need to do that. Marvel, this is how you do it. You don't just cut that dialogue out. You just leave it the fuck in, because it's important. And it takes 10 seconds. So thank you very much, Adrift. If I'm just misinterpreting that, I don't give a shit, because I like my interpretation. So there you go. Unless Shailene Woodley calls me and goes like, sorry, Mel, but that's not what that was supposed to be. But I'm pretty sure that's what it was supposed to be. So that is a really good film. If you like catastrophe films, go and watch Adrift. If you like sailing or anything to do with open water, I think you'll like Adrift. But there's some very upsetting scenes in there. So if you can't deal with like a lot of drama and tragedy and open wounds and a lot of shit happening, it's probably not the film for you. I like that kind of stuff. So I loved this film. I really enjoyed it. I thought Shailene Woodley was fantastic. And going right into the next catastrophe film, which is more of the bring your family to this catastrophe film because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson stars in it, and that means that it will always have a happy ending because that's what he's known for. Then you go and watch Skyscraper. And I love this image because obviously there was this whole hoopla about in the trailer how he's like jumping from the crane onto the building, and I was like, let me do the math. This is, even for Johnson, absolutely impossible. So I really like that I've decided on that photo. I personally don't give a shit whether it's realistic or not. I just love it. He's just a superstar. You know, he's like the NBA All-Stars or whatever, or the football All-Stars, or the whatever sport All-Stars. He's like a cinema All-Star. I just love what he does. I love his movies, and I didn't even realize before this whole thing about Rampage and the ending of Rampage, and he was like putting his foot down because he wanted a particular ending for Rampage, and he got his ending for Rampage. I didn't actually realize that all of his films always have a happy ending. That just didn't trigger for me. I just knew that I enjoyed watching his films. They're always really entertaining. They make me feel good. They're fun. And I always leave the cinema in an upbeat way. And I did the same when I watched this earlier. It's literally just been a few hours ago. And I walked out of the cinema and I was like, oh my God, the sun is shining. Everything is good. I just watched the Rock movie. It was so fucking good. I loved it. It was really, really good. I enjoyed it. Just like, I can't really think of a movie that The Rock was in that I didn't really enjoy. I mean, there was Criminal Intelligence or whatever it was. Was that with Kevin Hart? I think it was. That was one of the less enjoyable ones. But there was still a lot of really good stuff in it. And it's the same director for this, for Skyscraper. And just in case, like, plot is not really important, is it? But let me just tell you what Skyscraper is about, okay? So we have former FBI hostage rescue team leader. What a name. And US war veteran Will Ford, that guy, played by The Rock. He now assesses security for skyscrapers. I have no idea how he ended up in this profession, but obviously we don't need to explain this. This is just what it is, so get over it. Now he's on assignment in China, in Hong Kong, when he finds the tallest, safest building in the world suddenly on fire, and he's being framed for it. A wanted man on the run, Will must find those responsible, clear his name, and somehow rescue his family, which is trapped inside the building above the fire line. So that's kind of what happens in the film. It stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, obviously. It also stars Neve Campbell as his wife. Pablo Schreiber, I just mentioned him because I like him. He was in Orange is the New Black. He was in the first season of American Gods. He's been in quite a few bits and bobs ever since he kind of got big, so to speak, with Orange is the New Black. He was Porn Stash, right? He's a really cool guy. And Noah Taylor is in this as well. And a notable mention for a lady called Hannah Quinlivan or something like that. She's half Asian. I just put down in my notes immediately once the film was over, Asian Ruby Rose. There was a woman in there. I was like, is that Ruby Rose? And I was like, there's something off about her. I was like, that's an Asian lady. She looks like Ruby Rose, minus all the tattoos. But there's just like an essence about her. I was like, she looks like Ruby Rose. She's absolutely fucking gorgeous. So all I wrote down was like Asian Ruby Rose. And then I Googled her, and her name is Hannah Quinlivan. And apparently she's half Australian, half Taiwanese or something like that, which is why she didn't immediately trigger as like, sorry, proper Asian. So yeah, she was fantastic. She immediately made an impression on me. She doesn't say a lot. She just gets in there and fucking kills people and gets shit done. I love it. She's playing one of the villains. I always have a thing for the villains. So one of the things that happens in the film is, a lot of people are saying it's Die Hard, but the 2018 version with The Rock. And you can kind of say that. And that's, I think, a really good like description, because Die Hard's a fucking great film. But this one is more, I don't know, it feels like there's more going on there than there did in Die Hard. And I know this sounds weird because the plot in this film is absolutely cheesy and silly. But there's a lot of, it has a lot of personality. and it has a lot of charm. And on top of that, not because, but on top of that, it also has Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So the film by itself already has the personality and the charm, and then you still have Dwayne to make it even better. Because he brings a lot of personality and charm to all of his projects, which is why he is as successful as he is. People love watching his stuff, and this is no different. This is really, really fucking fantastic. So one of the things that I thought was really good about the film, they do this whole prologue thing where you're in an entirely unrelated scenario. You see Dwayne as the FBI agent that he was, the hostage rescuer, team leader or something. Something goes wrong, which is the setup for the entire film. And he and his team, well, I'm not gonna give that away because it's quite a powerful moment. Let's just say, yeah, stuff goes wrong, right? One of the things I love about the film is that, and you can sort of kind of see it here as well, which is really fantastic. He is playing an amputee. I was not aware of that. He loses his leg in the line of duty, which is one of the reasons why he's no longer an FBI agent, I guess, even though he could probably be an FBI agent with just one leg. But he loses a leg and is then a security consultant for Skyscrapers for whatever reason. And this Asian dude builds this biggest, tallest skyscraper in the entire world in Hong Kong, and it looks really fucking fantastic. Like, I was just like, whoa, this is amazing. It's like the Tower of Babel, you know, or Babylon or whatever it was. It's crazy. It's so fucking tall. It looks really impressive, and The Rock is there to assess that security is working fine and all of that stuff. And because of that, it's like a family trip. So he brings the family. He brings Neve Campbell, his wife, and their 2 children, and they're the only ones that reside in that skyscraper, because the lower half of the skyscraper is kind of like a shopping mall or something, and the upper half is going to be residential area, but that will only be occupied once the security checkup has been successfully completed and the building has been insured, which is why Noah Taylor is there, because he's from the insurance company, because Noah Taylor always plays dodgy people from, you know, other things like insurance companies. So everything in this film is very predictable. All the character pieces, how they fall together, how they fall into place, very predictable. Even with Pablo Schreiber, you know exactly why he's there and what his game is and what's going to happen. But the way it does is still quite interesting. And one of the things I really liked about it, and I think this is something that seems to be quite a thing with the Rock movies now, there is no such thing as a damsel in distress in a Rock movie. And I applaud him for that, because obviously for me that is very, very important. So one of the things is he plays an amputee, an ex-Marine, an ex-FBI agent. He has only one leg, and he always has this, like, he limps a tiny bit because of that. And I love that, because he's not just, I'm the Rock, you know, my arms are what other people have for legs, that kind of thing. It's like, rah! No, he's like, I'm the hero, because this is my movie, but I'm going to play an amputee. I'm going to play someone with just one leg. And I'm still going to be the hero who saves everybody and whoops bad guy ass. And that, for me, is also really important, because that is brilliant representation. When was the last time you can remember that there was an amputee, someone with only one leg or someone with only one arm, who was the lead, the hero in an action movie, who not saves the world, but who saves everybody? You know, I think it's unheard of. I can't think of it. And that really, really surprised me, because obviously I can't remember that being in the trailer. I was like, that is fantastic. Yay for representation. And then on top of that, and then obviously Asian Ruby Rose, I talked about that. She was fantastic. I love her. I want to see her and more. She's awesome. Neve Campbell, she wasn't just the wife. She was kind of even more impressive than he was. Well, sounding like. She was an ex-soldier. She was a doctor, a military doctor, a military surgeon who had done 2 tours in Afghanistan, so she could take care of herself. They met when he lost his leg and she kind of saved his life. and then they got married and had 2 children. So she's no damsel in distress, and when the bad guys go bad and the shit hits the fan, she can take care of herself. She can take care of her children, and she deals with stuff, and she is very, very impressive. Now, obviously, it's still a Rock movie, so he is the overall lead and he's the hero, but she gets her moments to shine, and I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Never at all did I think throughout this film that she was a damsel in distress or just a wife, and that was fantastic. There are scenes in there, I'm not even going to give it away, but she's just absolutely awesome. One of the things I really loved about the film as well is I have vertigo issues. I don't deal with heights very well, even though I've done a skydive and I would do it again in a heartbeat. But the cinematography is very vertigo inducing, and that is absolutely awesome. I love it because I'm a sucker for punishment. It's really, really well done. And there's something at the top of the building as well, where if you've ever been to like lookout towers and stuff, like in Auckland in New Zealand, where they have like you're like a few hundred meters up and you're walking around, and then there's like certain sections in the floor that have windows in them, and you can stand on them, and you can like your brain doesn't know what the fuck's going on because you're standing on air and you're not falling because it's glass. And they have that for the entire upper section, where you kind of do like with holographs or something, where the entire floor disappears and it looks like you're standing in the middle of air. And I was just like, oh my god, I would have probably pissed my pants. It looks fantastic. It's obviously green screen, but it looks fantastic. And I was like, there's a lot of vertigo inducing and a lot of like, oh my god, I can't believe what it is. Like I was fully captivated by the film. I was fully with it, and I was really like with The Shallows. I was like, oh my good god. And there was a lot of close stuff, and there was also a lot of really funny stuff. Not so much in the plot, but more in like little details in the scenes. And I'm gonna run over because I will have to talk to you about the movie of the week, which I haven't even mentioned yet. There's like a little scene where The Rock goes up to something and he was like, oh, I need to get in there. It's a window. I'll take the sledgehammer. And I'm like, checks. Oh, the door is open. I don't need the sledgehammer. And it's just absolutely hilarious. It's like, I'm not doing it justice, but he literally goes, huh. You know, the whole thing is like, I don't need to like blow shit up with C4. I can just go, like, it's actually unlocked, man. Have you checked if it's unlocked? I absolutely love that. There's this whole thing that his character Will has in the film. Is like, do you have duct tape? Do you have duct tape? He really loves his duct tape, and duct tape saves the fucking world, and duct tape also saves the boat in Adrift. You know, it's the day of duct tape today, which was funny. But overall, Skyscraper, I had a lot of fun with it. It's very predictable. The narrative is like, you've seen it 50 million times before. The characters and who turns out to be a villain, very predictable, because it's like, yeah, you're a bad guy. This is not a good idea. It's like you're watching a horror movie and it's this whole safety, death, and you're like, death. That's just what happens, right? And that's the kind of film that this is. It's absolutely silly, and the plot device and the whole what's the word? The whole why everything is happening, why the bad guys are doing this, is so silly and stupid, and we've seen this 50 million times before. It's like, oh, we need a reason, quick, we need a, yeah, that's fine. It's just, no one's going to give a shit. They just want to see The Rock. And that's exactly what it is. No one cares, because The Rock is an amputee, saves his family, and disposes of the bad guys. And it is absolutely awesome. Neve Campbell gets her moments to shine. Asian Ruby Rose gets her moment to shine. There's like a lot of other things there. It is absolutely fantastic, because one of the things I really loved about it was like, people are blaming him for the fire and he doesn't even give a shit. He's like, dude, the entire fucking army can be after me. I'm going into the skyscraper and save my fucking family, because that's all I care about. And then afterwards you can do with me as you please. I don't really give a shit. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. There are also certain set pieces there that are being set up in the first act of the film, clearly as a MacGuffin, to be used later on, which is exactly what happens. It makes no sense why that is there in the first place, but you don't care because it's kind of cool. So overall, Skyscraper, go and see it. It's fucking fantastic. It's The Rock. It's great action. It's funny. It's there are a lot of like, whoa, holy shit moments. It's Die Hard, the rock version. It's really, really good. Go and check it out. And now on to the actual movie of the week. And I know I'm running late. I'm doing my best. You know, I really am. Incredibles 2. It's been what, 14 years since the first Incredibles, and I can't believe that it's already been 14 years, because that just blows my mind. I loved the first Incredibles film, and I didn't think that they were going to be able to top it, but they managed to do so. Um, in case you've never seen The Incredibles, I think it's on Netflix. Check it out. It's really, really good. It's one of the best Pixar films ever. It's one of the best superhero films ever. And this one ups the ante, puts one on top of it. It's really, really good. It literally picks up where the first one left off, you know, where this whole thing about superheroes are not allowed kind of a thing. So we have the family of the Incredibles, and they're not allowed to be superheroes, which is obviously causing them a lot of problems. So the synopsis for Incredibles 2 is everyone's favorite family of superheroes is back in Incredibles 2, but this time Helen is in the spotlight, leaving Bob at home with Violet and Dash to navigate the day-to-day heroics of normal life. It's a tough transition for everyone, made tougher by the fact that the family is still unaware of baby Jack's emerging superpowers. If you've seen the short that was on the DVD called Jack Attack, it's absolutely hilarious. If you've never seen the first Incredibles, you need to see this before you watch this one, because otherwise you're not going to be able to appreciate it as much as people who have seen the first one. In the first one, the whole thing is like, I'm the babysitter. It's just so fucking fantastic. Yeah, you need to watch that. And then we have a new villain who hatches a brilliant and dangerous plot, of course. The family and Frozone, voiced by Samuel L. Jackson, must find a way to work together again, which is easier said than done, even when they're all incredible. I would say it's easier said than done when superheroes are outlawed. That's kind of what's going on in the film. I thought this was a really great sequel. This is like a really great superhero film. This is one of the best superhero films I've ever seen, and it's an animated one. It's crazy. It's great for the entire family. You can bring small children into this. It's going to be awesome. They're going to have a lot of fun. There's a lot of action in this. There's a lot of slapsticky stuff in that. And one of the funny things is that I really didn't expect that was going to happen. It's a girl power movie, and I was really surprised by that, because Elastigirl, who is Helen, she is kind of the lead in this, and like I said, Bob has to stay home and take care of the kids, because the guys that kind of want to help them make superheroes viable again, because they're kind of outlawed, those big guys with a lot of money, they're interested in Elastigirl because they think that Bob as Mr. Incredible was too destructive. And in order to make the public and everyone else think of superheroes in a better way, in a better light, in a more positive way, is to not bring someone who's just destroying shit all the time. It's like they're trying to save the planet and the city, and every time they do it, half the city is destroyed. You know, that's not very helpful. It's like you're causing as much mayhem as the bad guys, you know? And I think for that, I really like the film as well, because they do make a point. When you watch superhero movies, there's so much carnage all the time, and you're like, dude, how many people do you think you just killed because you smashed someone into this building? That kind of thing. When I watched this a few weeks ago in the unlimited screening, it was the secret unlimited screening, so no one knew what it was. As soon as the title showed up, people were cheering. I shit you not. People were cheering when the title came up. It was absolutely awesome. And I'm not talking about kids. I'm talking about adults here. And people were excitedly chatting when they were leaving the cinema. And everyone was like, oh my God, this was just amazing. And did you see that? And what did you think of this? And blah, blah, blah. There's just so much stuff happening in this film. It's absolutely incredible. This shouldn't be called Incredibles 2. It should be called 2 Incredible. Because that's what the movie is. It's really, really fantastic. I loved it. It's great. It's entertaining. There's also like a lot of profound stuff happening in there. There's like, it's kind of like Shrek, where things are happening on different layers that small children are probably not going to pick up on. But you as the adult, you're going to pick up on that, and it's going to add another layer of entertainment for you. And I was so surprised by the emphasis on the female characters. You have Helen, who's clearly the lead in this film now, which is probably why a lot of people gave the film shit, because Bob is kind of on the back burner and Helen is the hero. Same with Violet as well. She kind of, because she's also the older girl, the older child, and not Flash. So it's just like there's a lot of emphasis on their storylines. It's all about the mother and the daughter trying to, date and going through high school, and because her whole thing was about being invisible and stuff, right? And that kind of comes back. Being a teenager is not easy. So it's kind of like this female-led superhero film that is kind of at the perfect timing for that kind of a film, because last year we had Wonder Woman, and then there was Atomic Blonde, and like all of that stuff, and now we have The Incredibles, which is about a family of superheroes, but they made the sequel, and this obviously was in production for several years because these films take forever to make, but this is already a female-led superhero film. It was absolutely awesome. One of the things I didn't like as much about the film was they made Jack too much into a running joke. Jack is the little baby who in the first film we find out also has superpowers, and he has all kinds of fucking different superpowers. He has like every superpower that's ever been thought of, he has it. And they went a bit too extreme with that in the sequel for me, because he has so many different superpowers that we find out about that I thought it was just a bit too much. Like, he literally had any superpower you can think of. He had it. And it was just a bit too convenient and too over the top for me. I wish that he had just like 3 or 4 superpowers, kind of like what you saw in the Jack Attack short after the first film. He was a bit like, he was an overpowered MacGuffin, and that kind of detracted a bit from the film. But overall, I really enjoyed the story, even though it is very predictable. You know exactly who the villains are going to be, and that is also another thing. Like, thank you for making it female-led. There's a lot of side characters that come in because the superheroes are outlawed in the Incredibles universe, and obviously they all kind of don't want that because they want to be superheroes. They want to change the world, they want to help, and they all have their powers. And then also what happens when someone kind of manages to make you use your power for bad things without you having any control over it. So there's like a lot of stuff happening on all kinds of different layers in The Incredibles. But first and foremost, it's just a really entertaining film. It's for the entire family. You can take the smallest child to that. Not that I would want a baby next to me, but it's perfectly safe for the entire family. There's no horrible, gruesome things happening where I think a 5-year-old might have nightmares or something. They're bringing back a lot of the favorites, like what was it, Edna, I think she was called, the lady who made the costumes. She's absolutely hilarious again. And there's just like so much really great stuff happening in this film that I really don't want to give too much away, because I think the less you know about this film, the better it is, because it is so surprising, left, right, and center, and there's a lot of stuff that is unexpected, while the plot and the narrative is quite predictable, but that is just always the case with superhero movies. But I think this is, no matter whether you think of this as an animated film or not, just thinking of it as an action film, this is one of the best action films, this is one of the best superhero films. I don't care that it's animated or not. It's really well done. I love the characters. The voice actors are fantastic again. It's really funny in like all kinds of different ways, shapes, and forms. And it's a film you can watch several times. I can't wait to see this again. It's been a few weeks, but one of the most important things that I remember about seeing this was it made me happy. It made me so positive and just happy and going like, oh my God, did you remember this scene? And did you see that? And did you see that? Blah, 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 blah. There was just so much happening. So much stuff that you can talk about to your mates. And that's why when people were walking out of the cinema, everyone was chatting excitedly. That hardly ever happens. I go to the cinema a lot. That hardly ever happens. And I'm not just talking about when you watch, like, let's say a catastrophe film like Adrift, which obviously hits home rather heavily, whereas Skyscraper is more positive and upbeat. So obviously you're not going to go, it's like, oh yeah, that was awesome after you've seen Adrift. No. But if you, it's like Infinity War. It's like you leave that. It was like, and one of my mates was like, I didn't like that very much because it didn't make me feel like a superhero. It made me feel really horrible. It's like, well, that was the whole point, considering what happened at the end. And this is the exact opposite. This is just a feel-good movie that's just a lot of fun. There's also stuff happening that kind of makes you think about things. I love the character development. The voice actors were great. The only thing that really kind of annoyed me after a while was Jack had too many powers that were too convenient and too powerful. But overall, this is one of the best films that I've seen all year. This is easily my movie of the week, even though Skyscraper is a very close second because it was fantastic. But The Incredibles 2, I'm going to call it Too Incredible. That's seriously what it is. If you've never seen the first one, do yourself a favor. Watch the first one first. Watch the Jack Attack short. Trust me on that. And then go and watch Too Incredible. It's so fantastic. You're going to love it. You can take your children. This is also a good date movie. This is just a feel-good movie. Like everyone, like you don't need to be a fan of action movies to enjoy this. You don't need to be a fan of animated movies to enjoy this, or superhero movies. You don't need to know anything about superheroes or action or animation. You just have to go in there, sit your bum down, and have fun. And that is The Incredibles 2. One of the best superhero sequels that I've ever seen. It is easily my movie of the week. You need to go and see this. Also go check out Skyscraper. Check out Adrift if you can stomach it. It's not actually that heavy. And maybe, you know, if you've seen everything, go and check out Uncle Drew. Don't forget, Incredibles is out tomorrow. Skyscraper started today. So go to the cinema. Find me on Twitter at ILoveCinema or Melanie_Radloff. Just go to ILoveCinema, all one word. All the links, all the info is there. How to find me, how to get in contact with me, how to chat to me about movies, how to see previous episodes. All of that stuff is on there. Just go to ILoveCinema on Twitter. I hope you had a good time. Thank you very much for watching. And I'm not sure what I'll be talking about next week. So stay tuned to my Twitter because I always tell you what movies I'm going to be talking about. So thanks very much for watching. Have a good weekend. Don't get sunburned, which is why you should go to the cinema. Have a good one.